Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I will show you how to make a lo-fi hip-hop type beat in LMMS. I've selected these sounds: piano, bass. It's in a higher octave right now, and this is a free VST plugin. I'm using this preset. Then I have this clap, a hi-hat, kick, some vinyl crackle, and a vocal chop. And I'm gonna start with the melody, the main melody, which will be the piano riff. So I'm just gonna draw in some simple chords using only the white notes. And most lo-fi tracks have this kind of sad, melancholic vibe to it, so this is what I'm going for. And I'm just gonna lay out these basic chords and then continuing to adding something to them. So as you can see, these are not the most complicated chords. Here, this might be interesting. I'm using two notes that are directly following each other, but in this composition it works. So basically what you're doing is you're pulling this note from down here one octave up, and then you have this chord. I'm not good with music theory. I'm sure there's a special word for this chord, but for now this is how it works. Now I'm going to add some bass notes. Generally I'm going to follow the root notes of the chords, so right here. As you can see, it's one octave down, same here. And now we would go back to this note, but I want to kind of sound different, so I'm going down. And then again the root note of the chord. Alright. Now I'm going to add some more notes on top. And as you can see, as long as you're using the white notes and then experiment with them, it will sound good eventually. And now what's important, especially for lo-fi, is to humanize these chord progressions by slightly moving some of those notes so they're not right on the grid and you have like a strum. So change the snap to grid to whatever you want and then move these over a little bit. So I'm moving this over 2 steps and this one, and you have a little strum. gonna move this over one step and this 2 and 1. Now make sure to shorten these again so they don't overlap. And now let's add a top layer, so like a melody. These are the chords, and now let's add some melody. I'm gonna change this back to 116. And now you can just go by your ear what sounds good. And actually I'm going to change this back and move this over a little bit. Okay, so we have our main piano melody. Now what I'm going to do is add some effects. Usually I don't show the step, but I think it could be interesting. So first of all, add some EQ. I'm using this EQ mostly. Remove all of the lows. Then boost the mid a little bit. And remove the high end. So we want to go for like an old sound, kind of muffled, which is why I'm using, in addition to the EQ, a low pass filter. Okay, so this will work for our main melody. It sounds kind of old and muffled, as I said, which is exactly what we are going for. So now let's move on over to the bass. And for the bass and lo-fi you can do whatever you want. In some tracks there isn't even a bass, but I think bass should be there because it feels kind of empty without one. And for this style of track I want to make it sound kind of like a live bass, very active. So I'm going to try to emulate this as best as I can. And again, just move in the range of the white notes and you should be fine. And here as well, want these notes to strum. So you can hear blop. This is the sound that I want because it sounds more realistic, like a bass guitar player would play it. I think, I'm not sure, but I like the sound. And if you remember, this is the root note of the first chord and this is the root note of the second chord. So we're kind of following along that pattern. And again, it leads to the root note of the third chord. And also, I'm leaving some gaps in between these notes just because I like the way it sounds. Don't want it to play the whole time, it would take up too much of the space. Now I'm jumping one octave down, again just to make the sound as real as possible or as bouncy as possible. And again go back to the root note. Again, we have an octave jump, so in a way it's similar to a lot of trap beats where you jump one octave up, even though they really don't sound anything alike. So now let's move on over to the drums. I'm gonna click on this, and as you can see the tempo is 99 BPM, so I'm placing the snare, or the clap rather, at the common trap spaces, so it's a really slow beat, kind of what we are going for. And for the clap, I'm gonna add this low pass filter with these settings, so it sounds like this instead of this. Again, really muffled sound, which is what we are going for. And the same applies for the hi-hat. Instead of this sound, we get this sound. And then just place this on the beginning of the every other colored bar. And then we're going to open this in the piano roll and make the classic boom bap hi-hat bounce so every second note will be lower. And we are going to move these over slightly. So this is the smallest the snap to grid can get. And now I'm selecting all these notes. I'm holding shift and now I'm pressing the arrow key once and twice. Now let's move this back. And let's bring in the kick. And you can hear it's more humanized because of the hi-hat delay and the velocity changes. And as you can notice, the drums are not really sticking out of the mix, which is why we need to sidechain everything to the kick. To do that, I think I made a tutorial on sidechaining already, but I can show you. Create 2 mixer channels, go to Add Effect, look for the P controller, turn this bass amount all the way down, then select the second mixer track, search for sidechain compressor, right click on this knob, connect to controller, and select this. It's the only controller you will have. Now we've selected the P controller's signal to this knob, and what we're going to do now is turn the ratio and the threshold all the way up, turn the attack a little bit up, and the release. You can play around with these settings as well as the detection. I like to have this up. I'm not really sure what it does, but I think at least I feel like it sounds better that way. And now we're going to assign the kick to mixer channel 1 where the P controller is, and the piano to mixer channel 2 as well as the bass. And now it should sound like this. If you really want to hear the effect this has, you can turn on the mute effect and then hear. And there you have it. That's very common in most lo-fi tracks to sidechain really hard, so the kick really sticks through the mix. And now for the vinyl crackle, I've got the sample. I'm not sure where I got it from, but there's plenty of those out there. Change this, turn the velocity up, and then drag this out for 4 bars and just lay it underneath. And for this you can decide if you want this to be assigned to the sidechain channel. I like this so the kick sticks through even more. So yeah, now you would be pretty much done. You can leave it like this. This is a perfectly fine lo-fi beat, but I want to add this little vocal sample, and as you can see, I've turned the attack up, so if I remove this, it would sound like this, but with the attack it sounds like this. And now I am going to draw in some notes. And then change it up at the end of the second bar. Make the same again, but this time I'm going to move this up. Now let's hear it. But we need to throw some effects on this, as well as assigning this to the sidechain track. Now let's add some EQ first. Remove all of the lows and most of the low mid frequencies. And boost the high mids and highs a little bit. And now I want to add some stereo to this. Actually, this is the wrong effect. I want stereo enhancer. And I'm gonna turn this all the way up. And now you can hear it's in both of your ears. Now let's make this more ambient by adding some delay. I like the vintage delay because it lets you detect the tempo. You can just type in 99 and then turn up the amount a little bit, as well as the feedback. What's missing now is the reverb. I use calf reverb. Turn up the decay time, turn up the wet amount a lot, and turn the dry amount a little bit down. And now we are done with the beat. For the structure, you can structure it however you like, but most lo-fi beats don't have that kind of a complicated structure. I'm just going to create a short intro where only the main melody plays, and then probably just looping this for this amount of time. So yeah, nothing too fancy, and this is how you make a lo-fi hip-hop beat in LMMS. Part 2, I guess you could say, but I think this is more helpful, especially because of the side chaining, which I forgot about in my previous tutorial. And it shows you how to make your own melody. You don't need a sample to make lo-fi. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.